I start out the month at my favorite property to travel to for poker tournaments, Hard Rock in Hollywood, Florida. I'm here for the WPT tournaments and I'm firing hard. I put out this tweet mentioning that I'm looking forward to playing the side events that tend to have a few hundred people or less so I can get some final table experience, and that's exactly what happens. The very first bullet I play is the $1,100 Omaha High-Low event. It's my first ever 08 only tournament, and I make it to the final table of 9 with almost $20,000 for first. The top 7 make the money. I get short once it's down to 5 players, but in a family pot, I turn quads with no low possible. Our 4 threes scoops a huge pot and allows us to quadruple up. Still, the other 4 stacks are way bigger. Ultimately, we get 5th for $4,000, which I'll take since I had very little experience in that variation of poker. The following day, I play a $300 charity event, and we get a little more FT experience. We've made the final table. Don't have a lot of chips left. Matt Savage is in the final table. Let's go. These charity series of poker events put on by Matt Stout are a blast, and they're for a good cause. No one takes anything too seriously. There's still serious money to be won, though. There were 140 total entries. We're all in the money at the final table. In addition to these prizes listed, first place will win a free $3,500 seat into the championship event, and second place through 9th will win seats into smaller buy-in events. We're not playing for life-changing money, but it's nice to get that final table experience that I was after. And I play one hand, they skip the level and put me in the big blind with the big blind ante on. I bust immediately in 9th for $500 and a $400 tournament buy-in, so I don't get a ton of experience, but to be honest, this isn't exactly the tournament that I want to ladder up or win anyway. It's time to play the championship event so we can get our name on the Mike Sexton Champions Cup. It's a $3,500 buy-in. There are over 1,700 entrants total. I can't get much going on day 1A, losing a massive all-in with kings against Maurice Hawkins' queens. After we get it all in pre-flop, and Maurice hits runner-runner flush to win a pot over 3 times starting stacks and knock me out. On the next bullet, I get it in with jacks versus ace-queen. We turn a set, but lose to a straight. I finally get through to day 2 on lucky bullet number 8. It's been a grueling tournament. On day 2, I bust early, getting it in with pocket queens, but running into pocket kings. We get it in pre-flop, and both of us hit a set, but I lose and have nothing to show for the 8 bullets and $27,000 that I lit on fire. The last event I'm playing is the biggest one for me. It's a $10,000 buy-in. I'll be honest, I'm not feeling all that optimistic given how I've been running. I know the card distribution has to turn around eventually though. In a tough field with tons of superstars, I end up bagging $108,000 on bullet number 1, which is over 4 times starting stack. We're about average in chips with only 29 advancing and $288,000 for first. The top 16 make the money and there are huge pay jumps. On day 2, we make it to the final 2 tables. There's 17 left with quite a few notables. The stone bubble lasts a long time because the min cash is $20,500. Martin Cabril's playing. He's entertaining, but he's not helping anything go any quicker.
Because I'm asking about the rules, he needs to stop the clock, of course. Please. What are you talking about? I don't know this might. You need to tell me the rules of the. Can you please stop the clock? I'm asking about the rules of the tournament.
I can make a whole video just about Cabril's antics today. I consider it. Unfortunately, we run into a roadblock.
Mr. Vlogger, all rights reserved.
When we get hit with the all rights reserved, there's really no way around that. The bubble finally burst though. We actually make a pay jump before getting it in with pocket queens, but we're up against pocket aces. We run into a cooler situation once again this trip. It's a terrible time to have it happen because there are a couple of tiny stacks, it's right before the final table, and massive pay jumps start. The person we're up against is my friend Dave. He just almost tripled up the hand right before this one with pocket aces, winning against pocket queens and ace queens suited. As much as I like Dave, I couldn't want to win this anymore. Come on, let me win this one. One time.
Jack 10-9. That would make me sad.
With our tournament life on the line and a $10,000 buy-in and $288,000 up top, with a dozen left in the field, the flop comes Queen 5 Deuce Rainbow. We smash top set when we need it the most. The opponent's drawing dead to 2 outs or maybe less because the opponent next to me sounds like he folded an ace.
1 out.
I hate hearing anyone say something like that mid-hand. Even though my buddy Dave is drawing slim, the hand isn't over until all 5 community cards come out. The 3 of clubs on the turn gives our opponent a wheel draw. I need to say something to try to counterbalance the jinx that our table mate put on us. A lot more outs now. As long as we can fade an ace or 4, we double up and we'll be in good position to possibly get 7th or better, where we'll be guaranteed $48,500. The river is the 4 of clubs, giving our opponent the straight as we get sent home feeling like we just got punched in the gut. I'm pissed. This is when my phone gets slammed into the table. I wanted to run deep in this tournament so badly. I was actually looking forward to it more than any other event. After breaking 8 bullets in the $3,500 tournament and losing with multiple sets already in big spots, to lose with top set, to run a runner straight right before the huge payouts with multiple other stacks shorter than us is a blow I'm not able to take well at the moment. It's a big accomplishment to make the money, especially on only 1 bullet in this 10K against a lot of world-class players, but I can't hide that I'm disappointed it didn't go a little better. Still, we profit over $12,000 playing just a handful of hours. I take a quick break at the bar by the pool to get some fresh air and clear my head with my buddy Kevin Colenso, who's rooting me and Dave on. After our drink, we return to the tournament area to sweat Dave. If anyone's going to knock me out, I'm glad it's a buddy who makes it to the final 3 against Cabral and Josh Reichard. Dave has $146,000 locked up, it's $197,000 for second, and almost $300,000 up top, plus the trophy. Josh Reichard ends up making a huge comeback to take it down. Dave played well and gets third to book a nice 6-figure score. We have a fun night celebrating 2 out of 3 of us cashing in a large buy-in event. We have a delicious steak and seafood dinner at Council Oak on Dave's dime. I wish I could have reached one more final table, but I fall just short. It's still a great trip overall. Now I'm back in Las Vegas. It's nice to play some poker online on ClubWPTGold.com, which is available in 46 states. I'm regularly on there playing the 248 sweeps coin games. It's as soft as it gets for these types of stakes. Sweeps coins are redeemable for cash at 1-to-1 with the US dollar. Be sure to sign up using promo Brad so that you can be eligible for the next big free roll on May 4th. The first place prize is a $65,000 electric vehicle. The more sweeps coin ring games hands you play between April 6th and April 30th, the larger your stack will be for the free roll on May 4th. You have to play at least 1,000 sweeps coin hands to qualify. I have more information in the description box below. After winning a couple hundred online, I head to the strip to play some live cash at Wynn. I initially buy into the 10-20 game with a $20 big blind ante for $10,000, which is the max. I start the session at 12:38 with 5K in front of me because most other players have about that much on the table. I'll add a few yellow 1K chips later if I need to. It's going to be a shorter session today than normal because I have dinner plans and need to leave by 5. Hopefully we can run good before then. Right away, we pick up pocket 10s on the button. The cutoff raises to 50. We're going to be mixing in calling and 3-betting with a high pair after the cutoff opens. I'm going the aggressive route this time. I re-raise to 150. If we can get folds out of King Jack and Queen Jack offsuit hands that have a lot of equity, that's a win for us. All worst pocket pairs are going to be calling our 3-bet, which isn't bad either. The cutoff calls for 100 more. We're heads up in position. The flop comes 8-4 deuce with 2 diamonds. We've got an overpair but no backdoor draw. The cutoff checks. This may seem like a relatively dry flop aside from the flush draw, but any card below an 8 that doesn't pair the board completes a straight, and we really don't want to see any overcards come out, so we won't be going with the small size. I bet 200 for value and protection. We really don't want to see a check raise and have to continue having no idea where we're at. The cutoff thinks for a bit, then eventually folds. We'll take it. The first hand we get involved in, we win to put the momentum on our side from the start. About 30 minutes in, we're dealt King 8 offsuit in the big blind. The cutoff raises to 50. We're going to be defending a wide range, particularly when there's a late position raise, and even more often when there's a big blind ante, which improves the pot odds that we're getting. I call for 30 more. We're going to battle heads up out of position. The flop comes King Jack Jack Rainbow. We've got a weak top pair on a board that isn't bad for us since we'll have plenty of combos containing kings and jacks. I check to the pre-flop aggressor. This certainly isn't a bad flop for him either with so many high cards out there. He down bets to 40. I'm considering check raising because it could make things simpler for us down the road. If we get resistance, we can play more passively from that point. Going with the lower variance option is just as good. I call to keep the pot more manageable. The turn is the 6 of diamonds, putting a flush draw on the board. I check. If we see a check back, there'll be a good chance our pair of kings is best. The opponent will likely continue firing with his trips or better combos and his semi-bluffs like flush draws and straight draws. He might continue with some complete air hands as well. The cutoff puts us to the test with a bet of 150. It's not surprising to see a bet for a larger percentage of the pot when it's a fairly blank turn aside from a diamond draw popping up. It's starting to feel more like we could be up against a monster, but we're never supposed to fold top pair at this juncture. I call once more. I'd like to see a blank and a check back from the cutoff. The river is the 3 of hearts. Every single draw misses. If we were ahead on the turn, we should still be ahead. I check. I anticipate either a check or a large bet that we're going to have to call when the opponent's semi-bluff combos break out. The cutoff makes a bet of 800. There's a good chance that we're not going to win this one, but to avoid being exploited by the good players who are in these games, we've got to hang around. I call quickly. Cutoff has Queen Jack offsuit. He flop trips and got 3 streets of value. We didn't have much of a choice but to pay him off. When he triple barrels, it's either going to be 3 jacks that we're up against or air a lot of the time. The astute viewers may be thinking that the opponent who beat us was in the hijack because he's 2 seats away from the button, but the player on our opponent's left came in mid-hand and wasn't dealt in. Next, we're dealt ace-7 of clubs in the big blind. I added on for 2,000 more, so we're in for 7,000 total. This is the one good hand that wasn't recorded because the floor implemented a new rule for higher stakes games, making it so no phones are allowed on the felt, as we try to figure out a solution to still allow me to film. We'll go back to hands with live footage after this. The cutoff raises to 50, the button calls, I call, we're going 3 ways to the flop. It comes 9-8-3 rainbow, no one has anything, we all check. The turn is a 6, giving us an open-ended straight draw. If the game were Connect 4, we would have just won. Sadly, we're playing poker right now though, and we've got very little, but we're the most likely person to have a strong hand given the action, and we have removal to the nuts. I bet 140 is a semi-bluff. The cutoff all of a sudden wakes up from his slumber. He's not buying what we're selling. He raises to 600. I doubt that he'll have 10-7 or 7-5 very often when we're blocking it. He didn't bet on the flop. His turn raise is suspect. The button folds. It seems like we've gotten ourselves into a game of chicken and we're not backing down. I continue with our story that we've got a straight. I re-raise to 1800. The cutoff gets caught trying to make a move. He folds immediately. I can't help but show him the bluff. I'm sure that he's going to store this one in the back of his mind so he remembers I'm capable of making moves light. We win a large pot that gets us close to the even mark. In this one, we pick out pocket deuces in the big blind. We figured out a solution for me to prop my phone up on the rail rather than the felt, which is why it's a slightly different angle than we had previously. The cutoff raises to 60. There's the same opponent we bluffed in the ace-7 suited hand that we just went over. He's going to want some revenge. I call for 40 more. We're heads up out of position. The flop comes King 5 deuce rainbow. We've got bottom set and an opponent who needs to get some money back from us. I check. Cutoff should be betting a small amount with his entire range. When the flop is dry like this, he bets 50. It's tempting to slow play because we've got such a big hand and the cutoff could be drawing close to dead already. I think back on a comment that's pinned on the previous vlog telling me that I need to bet my own hands though. I agree. I raised to 170. With our super strong combos, we want to build massive pots from the earliest point possible so the pots grow exponentially. It'd be a disaster if we called here, check turn, and the cutoff checked back. Sure, the opponent might fold some of the time when we could have gotten another 100 or 200 from him down the line, but we want to get the maximum out of him when he has top pair combos or just doesn't believe us. Plus, we need to check raise when we have it on flops like this, so when we check raise with our straight draws and other weak holdings as bluffs, they'll occasionally get through. The cutoff calls for 120 more. I like it. He's supposed to call with tons of hands that are drawing dead to run a runner or 2 outs, including every one of his pocket pairs. The turn is the 10 of clubs, putting a flush draw out there as well as straight draws. I consider checking with intentions of putting in a check raise, but I don't want to risk it checking through. We're going to stick to the plan of taking the sure route to building the pot. I bet 320 to continue extracting value. There isn't a whole lot of hesitation from the cutoff. Maybe he's picked up a flush draw to go along with top pair or a straight draw. He goes to his stack to pick up chips and make the call. Let's give the man trip kings on the river if that's what he thinks he needs. The river is the 3 of spades. It's mostly a blank aside from 6-4 and ace-4 getting there to steal the lead from us. I don't anticipate our opponent having a straight very often unless he has ace-4 or 6-4 of clubs exactly. The opponent has seen us bet and re-raise him light already. Let's hope that he's thinking about that ace-7 bluff now as I announce a large wager of
1,300.
The opponent folds before I get my chips out there. I doubt he even had top pair. We don't get paid on the river, but our check raise on the flop allows us to likely win more money than if we only check called. Our bluff in the previous hand might have helped us get more value with our set here as well. Our loss with King 8 put us in the hole 4 figures. This is a fairly large game, and we recover all of it quickly. We're already up a few hundred and have a lot more poker to play. Next, we're dealt ace-king offsuit in the small blind. The tables agreed to put in a blind raise to 40 from under the gun for a round. Picking up a strong hand in the small blind can sometimes be tricky. If we go to a flop, we're going to have to play a big pot from out of position. We're not calling 40 though. I raised to 150. The The opponents in the big blind and under the gun are both good players. They know that I'm going to have a narrow opening range. It just doesn't stop them from entering the pot. The big blind calls for 130 more. Under the gun is closing the action. He calls for 110 more. Three of us are seeing the flop with close to 500 in the middle. The dealer puts out King 10-6 rainbow. We've got top. It's great to improve. This is still a somewhat tricky spot to navigate. Our opponents can have some sets and 2-pair combos. They can also have worse pairs or draws that they'll call a bet with. I bet 220. It's a little less than half the pot. The big blind can't really call light when I'm betting into 2 players and there's still another opponent behind him that hasn't acted. He folds. The under the gun player has to respect our pre-flop raise, followed by a C-bet into multiple opponents on a flop that'll be good for our range. He folds as well. We've won a few key hands in a row, running decent and accumulating chips as pots continue to get pushed our direction. I love ace-king so much that I decided to pick it up again, except this time we're suited. It's less likely to be dealt ace-king suited than it is to be dealt pocket aces. This is a treat. A player in middle position raises to 50. While we're always going to play ace-king offsuit, we're not always going to 3-bet it. We'll mix in some calls. With ace-king suited on the other hand, we're always going to re-raise with it. I 3-bet to 150. It's simple math for the initial pre-flop raiser. It's only 1 black chip more for him to stick around. He makes the call. We're heads up in position. The flop comes 5-5-3 rainbow with all the suits that we don't have. The opponent checks. He's not going to have a ton of 5s in his range. Neither of us will, but we'll occasionally have ace-5 suited or 6-5 suited. The more important aspect to focus on in this hand is that we'll have a lot more overpair combos than the opponent. We can force him to tough decisions if we bet large all 3 streets, especially since we have removal to the big pairs that we'd be representing. It also wouldn't shock me if we currently have the best hand. I down bet to 90 to fold out hands like 10-9, Jack-10, and Queen-10 suited that have equity. If we get called by a pocket pair that's beating us, we should have 6 outs twice. The opponent knows that we won't have trips very often. He's maybe wondering if he should make a move or at least call to see the turn. He chooses the path of least resistance and folds. I doubt that he had a pair of any sort. We must have the best hand. Denying equity is still important for us to continue building our stack. In this one, we're dealt 10-9 suited in middle position. This is one of my favorite hands. Even though nothing good ever happens when we play it, I raise to 50. The button calls, the big blind also calls. We're going 3 ways to the flop. It comes 9-4-3 rainbow. We've got top pair. Not too bad. The big blind checks. We need to protect from overs, maybe some straight draws. We've got to bet this one. I make it 90 to go. We definitely don't want to see the button call because it'd be nice to at least play this in position the rest of the way. Winning on this street wouldn't be a bad result either. The button calls. He shouldn't be calling us too light with another player in the big blind who still has cards that could have connected with this flop. It's not that likely that we'll have top pair or better though, so maybe he's keeping us honest with a pocket pair like 5s through 8s. The big blind check raises to 400. This complicates things quite a bit. I don't fully believe the big blind's story that he has ace-9 or better. We've got removal to top pair, 2 pair, and a set of 9s. The big blind could be bluffing with a straight draw or something like Jack-10 suited with a backdoor flush draw. It's just too dangerous to hang in there when we have 2 opponents who have shown interest post-flop and our hand isn't likely to improve. I'd be more inclined to call if we at least had a backdoor flush draw that would allow us to continue fighting on a lot of turns. I give up on this street and fold. It's possible that we were drawing close to dead and both opponents could have us beat. The button ends up calling. I stop filming, but the big blind wins at showdown with Queen-9 offsuit. He had us the whole way. We avoid losing several hundred more by parting ways with top pair. I told you that nothing good happens when we play 10-9 suited. Next, we're dealt ace-10 suited in middle position. Under the gun +1 raises to 50. 3-betting and flatting are both okay options. If we 3-bet, we can potentially win immediately without seeing a flop, and we disincentivize players behind us from calling, making it less likely that we'd play a multi-way pot from out of position. The benefit of flatting is that we don't inflate the pot when we could have the worst hand, since the initial raise came from an early position opponent with a narrow opening range. We also allow worse hands in that we can get value from and maybe even flush over flush to win a massive all-in pot. I call. This opens up the floodgates. The button calls. The big blind also calls. The threshold for us to value bet the flop is now going to go way up with 3 opponents. The flop comes ace-jack-8 with 2 diamonds. We've got top pair, decent kicker, with a backdoor straight draw. It checks to us. The pot is already somewhat sizable with 4 players putting money in pre-flop. I'd like to have a bit more information before betting our hand for value. I check, mostly for pot control, a bit for deception, and to see how the button wants to play this. He checks back. I doubt anyone has better than one pair, and probably not top pair like us. I'm comfortable in our position. The turn is the deuce of diamonds, putting a third diamond on board and completing the flush draw. The big blind checks. He's the most likely person to have a flush, but now that he's checked the turn after it previously checked through, I mostly rule out him having diamonds since he probably would have bet for value. The actions on the initial pre-flop raiser, he's the least likely person to have a flush since he opened from early position and the ace and jack of diamonds are accounted for, reducing the few combos containing 2 diamonds that he'll have. Under the gun +1 checks, really making it unlikely that he has a flush. He would have bet a set or 2 pair on the flop as well, so the best hand that I put him on is something like ace-king that he checked flop with for pot control. He could have a number of second pair or worse type of hands that we're beating as well. I bet 70 for value and protection. I doubt anyone has a better hand than us, but if we're beat, we risk very little with our small sizing. The button folds, that's terrific for us. The big blind folds quickly. Under the gun +1 isn't as quick to let go. I thought that he had a second pair or worse type of hand, but maybe my assessment's wrong. He calls. Now it's way more likely that we're beat. He has ace-king or ace-queen. I suppose that he could also have a king-queen offsuit type of hand with a diamond, but I plan to check back almost all rivers. The dealer puts out the 10 of spades, giving us 2 pair. I'm not overly excited because some straight draws get there. Under the gun +1 checks. Part of me wants to check back in case we're up against king-queen. I just really get the sense that we're best though. I go with my gut and target ace-king and ace-queen combos that have played on the passive side as I bet 250. The opponent calls right away. We show him that we river 2 pair. We've got the winner. The opponent doesn't need to reveal what he called us with, but he's a buddy of mine named AJ. He volunteers to make the video better.
Okay, I swear.
Nice. The opponent turned 2 pair with ace-deuce of spades. We didn't nail the exact combo he had, but our general sense was correct since ace-king and ace-deuce are pretty much the same hand on the turn. The lead changed on all 3 streets, resulting in us getting the victory and several $100s. It's almost time to leave when we pick up ace-king offsuit once more. We're on the button. It folds to us. We're going to be playing. I raised to 50. We were 6-handed for a bit. The table's filled up now though. I'm okay with the new players on my left as the big blind 3 bets to 140. The re-raise is certainly on the smaller side for someone who's playing from out of position. She might think that we were just trying to steal the pot, but that wasn't the case at all. We've got a great view of everything after taking the chairlift to the top of the range. I 4-bet to 400. The big blind doesn't have a huge stack compared to the rest of the table. She could still be thinking that I'm 4-betting her light with a suited ace wheel combo. Rather than 5-bet, she calls to close the action and see a flop. We're heads up in position. It comes ace-9 deuce with 2 clubs. We've got top and virtually nothing to worry about. Our opponent checks. She's got to be aware that this is going to be a great flop that favors us. We're never checking this back. We don't need to bet a lot though either. I fire for 250. We want to at least attempt to keep hands in like pocket queens or jacks that are drawing slim. She just can't really continue with many combos we're beating other than ace-queen. She has to fold almost everything that she would have called our 4-bet with, except the one combo of pocket aces possible that she could theoretically be trapping with. She folds. I wanted to see her stick around with something worse. A nice pot still comes our way at least. The session has been relatively smooth. With this win, we're up 1,400 at the tail end of the day because it's almost time for dinner with the wife and baby. It just isn't over yet. We pick up pocket aces at the buzzer. We're under the gun. I raise to 50. The hijack calls. Our old nemesis, who we bluffed with ace-7 of clubs, then beat with our set of deuces, knows that we're about to leave. He can't let us rack up without trying to get some money back. He chooses a terrible time for redemption as he 3-bets at 250. There aren't a whole lot of better feelings in getting 3-bet when we're holding pocket aces. We don't want to flat and set the trap with a call because the hijack would be getting too good of a price to see a flop as well. We're going to play straightforward. I 4-bet to 750. The hijack folds immediately. When we 4-bet, after raising from under the gun, it should narrow down the range of hands that we'll have to just a few. But the button and I have history. He's seen me re-raise him light, risking a lot more money already. He's had enough of my shenanigans. He's going to take a stand. He 5-bets to 1,500. There aren't a whole lot of better feelings in getting 5-bet when we're holding pocket aces. We started the hand with 8,300. The opponent has us covered. If we 6-bet, we might as well turn our hand face up. I don't think the opponent is 5-betting us light, but if there's any chance he is, then he'd fold all of his bluffs to a 6-bet without even thinking about it. He could almost fold kings to a 6-bet without thinking about it. I call for 750 more to make it seem like we've got ace-king, kings, or queens. The opponent's good enough to know that we could still have aces and maybe a sliver of some other hands since we started over 400 big blinds deep. The effective stack to pot ratio is a bit more than 2. It should be easy to get the rest of our money in. We just don't want to see a king high flop. The dealer puts out king 8-7. It's a disaster because it's so likely in a 5-bet pot that the button has top set. I check. There's at least some chance that this is the perfect flop for us if the opponent has ace king. Plus, we have backdoor clubs to fall back on if we happen to be beat. The button significantly down bets to 400. It's really starting to feel more and more like he's luring us in with the nuts. I don't see the point in check raising when we're either drawing dead to 2 outs or he's drawing dead to 2 outs. I call, already not super comfortable with how big the pot is, the flop we got, and how much we have remaining in our stack compared to the size of the pot. The turn is the 9 of clubs. I like seeing it because it shouldn't have helped the opponent, and we pick up the flush draw, so we have a ton more outs if the button has top set. I check. I imagine the button will check back his ace-king hands at this point because we know that he can't account for the ace of clubs. He could think that we've got ace-queen or ace-5 of clubs. The button keeps the pedal pressed to the floor anyway with a bet at 1700. He almost for sure doesn't have a flush since we have the ace of clubs and the king of clubs is on board. I don't think that he's 5-betting us without an ace or king in his hand. He either has a set, maybe ace-king, or he's possibly bluffing with one of the 2 remaining ace-5 suited combos that picked up a straight draw. I still don't see the point of check raising, only to get called by a set of kings. There's a tiny chance that we can get value from ace-king if we raise, but he might fold that thinking that we could have a flush, a set of kings, or aces like we've got. I call. The river should only help us improve unless it's another king. The pot is over $7,000, and I'm not entirely certain if we're ahead or behind. If we were forced to guess, I'd say that we're probably beat. In fact, I might have folded aces if we weren't holding a club on the turn. The river is the jack of hearts, putting 4 to the straight on board, but it's actually a blank. I don't see how the opponent could have a 10, set of jacks, or river 2 pair. I check. We've got 4,700 left in our stack. If the opponent shoves, I have to minimally consider calling because we've under-repped our hand after not 6-betting pre-flop or check raising at any point. I could see the opponent ripping it with ace-king, thinking that we might both have top-top, and in his mind, he'd be attempting to try to get me off of a chop. I could also see him ripping it as a complete bluff with ace-5 of hearts or diamonds to rep aces that he'd had removal for. The button is deep in the tank with the wheels turning. He's probably wondering if there's any way that we could have a flush, a 10 for the straight, or a set. About a minute and a half goes by, and the button checks back. We turn over our aces. Surely, we just beat ace-king that could no longer bet for value. Nope. We lose not to a flush, not to a set of kings, and not to a straight. The button 5-bet us extremely light and got a miracle run out.
King 9, huh? Nice in.
The opponent drilled 2 pair on the turn with king 9 of diamonds. It's brutal. We were winning nearly the entire session. Then right at the end, this session's nemesis gets the revenge that he was seeking to destroy me right as I'm about to leave. It's as painful as it gets to conclude a poker session this way. I rack up the chips. There will be no getting unstuck for the vlog. I was all ready to go to dinner on a high note, knowing I did my job, walking out of the casino with more money than I walked in with. Instead, everything changes. I lose $2,300 and I can't hide that I'm feeling a little down. I head south on the strip to Bellagio, slowly decompressing to meet my family for dinner. Then, as I'm watching the fountains go off with my son in his mom's arms, I realize nothing about today's poker session matters at all. My son doesn't care if I win or lose, and when I see him healthy and happy, everything else that's bothering me about work quickly disappears. Despite the loss, we have a great dinner and great rest of the night.